Now that I've shown you how to do the little slab bowl over the plaster mold, I would like to show you how to do a simple slab over a plate mold or also a plaster mold. So what I'm going to do here is I'm ribbing my clay just like I did previously. And remember, ribbing makes it stronger. And then for this one, I'm going to use one of my textured rollers. And because the textured rollers are made of a rubbery substance, they could get stuck. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of cornstarch, and the cornstarch will help it not to stick. Make sure that your rollers are not wet, because obviously if they are wet, they will get stuck. So I'm going to use a firm pressure, and I'll add a little bit of texture. And I try to hold them as evenly as I can, but sometimes I might get a little bit of a line in there where the roller kind of shows up. There we go. Let's see, I'll do one more over here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, for this, I'm going to put the texture on the outside. And remember that you can also use the opposite mold where you would put the texture on the inside. So in this case, this is called a slump hump mold, and here I am slumping it over the outside. Okay, and I'm gently pressing it, trying not to get any finger dents into that. And once I get it to the angle that I want, I'm just going to take my needle tool. Again, be very careful never to scratch the mold. Let the edge or the side of the needle tool run against the side of the plaster mold. You have to be careful with plaster molds. Try not to chip them, because if they chip and plaster goes into your clay, that's going to be a problem. Okay, so this will make a great little plate. Leave it, you can cover it with a bag overnight because the plaster is going to dry it out some, and it will be leather hard the following day. The other one that I wanted to show you was using a textured mat. So I'm going to use one of my rubbery texture mats, and I have already taken the rib and I have ribbed this clay, so I don't have to do that for you. I'm going to add cornstarch again. Now, you can either put the texture mat underneath when it's big like this, or you can put it on top. I'm going to just put it on top, and I'm going to start from the middle, and I'm going to carefully roll to the outside. You want to be careful and go slowly, because you really don't want to stretch the clay, or it will kind of mess up your pattern a little bit. So both of these slabs, by the way, are the red sticks. They're 1/4 inch thick. Ooh, that looks pretty good. Okay, now what I'm going to do for this is a glass plate. If I put the clay directly on the plate, it's probably going to get stuck. So I usually like to take a bag and put over it first. That way the clay is not going to get stuck to the plate. And now I can drape this over, making sure that the pattern is all the way on. I'm going to use my turntable. Okay, and I'm going to gently ease that clay down into the mold. Again, very gentle. I don't want to get finger dents on there. And then I'm going to use my needle tool, same manner. I'm going to trim away the outside. Now, because this is on a non-porous surface, it's not going to dry from the bottom, it's only going to dry from the top. So I am going to leave this uncovered overnight. I'll let it get leather hard, and then I can show you later how you would clean up those edges. Very simple to clean up those edges. And that's how you make a little textured slab plate over a mold. Well, today I'm going to show you the continuation of how to take your textured slab plate and to finish it off. Last night I left it on the plaster mold. And I covered it up, and today it is nicely leather hard. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to shave off some of the rough edges here. I'm going to use a combination of different tools. I could use, say for instance, a nice steel rib, and I could shave that away. I could use a vegetable peeler, which is a nice fast way to kind of take it down, and I can even round the edge a little bit. And I could even use a Sureform. Now the Sureform will take it down rather quickly, so you do have to be careful not to go too fast, or you'll end up by taking off way too much of your edge. But I can use this to help modify the corners to make it look nice and regular. Okay, I'm going to flip this now, and on the back side I can use this to again kind of round that edge. I want to make sure that I don't have anything that could potentially be a sharp edge there. Got a little bump. I'm going to take that off a little bit. There we go. So I just really have to make sure that I have nothing that's going to be sharp. So this is going to be a nice smooth texture on the interior, but I'm going to have a very pretty texture on the outside. Now, if you have any sort of defect where it went over the mold, using just a very small amount of water, I can then go over it with a red rib. You don't want to overdo it. If you put too much water on leatherhard clay, it's going to remove some of the small particles and leave behind a heavily grogged surface. And of course, too much can also result in causing it to kind of recycle, and then it'll crack on you. So just a little bit more. If you have something stubborn, like I had a few textured areas, I just wanted to use my yellow rib because the red rib wasn't quite doing it. And then lastly, I'm going to take my finger with a little bit of water around the edge and clean that off. There we go. And when it looks nice and clean and uniform, I can flip it upside down perhaps on a board and I'll allow it to dry like that. Of course, my students, please do make sure that you always sign, possibly stamp your pieces. Next, I want to show you that I'm going to be doing this round plate, okay? And what I want to do here is I'm going to take off some of the edge, so similar to what I just did on the square plate. I'm going to take off some of the edge. There we go. I am going to make sure that this sits nice and flat without rocking. And then lastly, I'll just take my finger and again round off a little bit. Okay. And again, sign it. And then again, if you can position them upside down on a board to dry, that's one of the easiest ways to allow it to dry.